Hey everybody, welcome back, and thank you once more for checking out my channel. So, this evening, after I had my session here, I ended up going to a lovely barbecue. A friend of mine throws like an annual party, and it's great, right? There's like 40 people there. It's this big annual kind of bash they do, and it's always a good time. It's always a good time to kind of reconnect. A lot of the people that are there are people I actually used to work with some years ago. So it's them and their families, and we get to say hello and kind of touch base like once a year, see how things are. It's great. And, at these events, they often ask how I'm doing, and they'll often ask how my writing's going. They're never people who buy my books. Very few of them actually ever read my work or are even familiar with it, basically. But they just ask, hey, how's it going? How the book sales going? They kind of wish me luck and hope that things, go well. It simply is what it is. The average American reads, I think, like 2 books a year, and these people don't read any. It's just not their form of entertainment. So you can't really fault anyone for that. What's funny though, and something I was thinking about a lot on the drive home, was how much us as writers love to talk about ourselves as writers. How much of our work seems to be for the public. When we write for that external validation. Because we do, we love it. We love to talk about our books. We love to be the people, at the cafes with our laptops, seeing us typing away. We love to be the ones that just talk about it or talk about their book or kind of humble brag. Lord knows I do it all the time, right? The amount of times I was talking just locally, with someone being like, yeah, I got this book signing coming up at this place in Manchester here. I got to give this whole speech. I'm really nervous about it, whatever. Just as a means of humble bragging all the time, right? And it's a good thing. That I don't think that's anything to be ashamed of. I don't think there's anything to shame ourselves about as writers. Books take a long time to write, and boy, when they come out, you should be talking about yourself. You should be propping yourself up. I mean, my God, there are so few people advocating for us in this industry that you damn well better be advocating for yourself. You better be at least that lone voice that's out there talking yourself up. So I have no problem with that. But there is sort of an aspect of losing yourself in the process, of losing your project for other people. And I think the worst type of art is the type that does seek that external validation. And I think the most anxiety that we get as writers comes from that. It comes from the idea that you're not writing for yourself, you're writing for others. That's where the stress is. That's where the anxiety comes in. That's where all of this procrastination, I think, really comes from, is the idea that we are writing for others. And you can say that, no, I'm writing for myself. I'm writing this story for myself. But that's probably a lie, isn't it? Like, for example, if I had told you, hey, you're going to just write inside your office away from the rest of the world. And then once you're done with this novel, after you've reviewed it, done several drafts, and you've got it to the point where you're ready to submit it to agents or self-publish it, if I told you you have to just trunk it and never talk about that novel ever, you wouldn't do it. Very few of us are the J.D. Salingers of the world that can write novels for years and years and just trunk them and never let anyone ever see them. Side note, I do believe his heirs are going to be releasing some of his work, I think, in the next few years. I believe a couple short stories have already come out, but I think some of those longer novels are actually going to be coming out in the next few years, which is like super exciting. But back to my point. We seek the validation. We seek this idea of other people reading our work. It's never just for us. We do not write just for ourselves. And that's not a bad thing necessarily. You should be, especially like in the later drafts, thinking about having some sort of audience, even if it's imagined. even if you were to completely write for yourself, you should be thinking about some sort of audience, what Stephen King would call the ideal reader. Like one person who's going to pick up this book, just so that way it doesn't become this self-serving sort of tale, but it actually becomes a coherent story that someone else would, will connect with. That is simply good art to do that. But it's the idea that we are not writing enough for ourselves, that we are writing for other people. We write because we want someone to read it. That brings on the anxiety. That brings on the fear and the worry and all this external pressure. Fighters, before they go into a fight, are often told something to the degree of, you need to fight for yourself. That if you're really anxious and really nervous, there's this element of, hey, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some in these fights. But if you go in there thinking about you're fighting for your family and for the people and for your buddies that are watching you and for the audience that's watching you, if you fight trying to prove something to all them, you're putting all this extra pressure on yourself and you're making it harder on yourself. You need to go in there, you need to win and fight just for yourself. All right? It's the same thing with us. The way to get rid of pressure and to get rid of anxiety about your work and all this stuff is to do it for the love of the story, is to do it just to bring a story alive for you. That needs to be where the process begins. And in an ideal world, I think that's where it would end. Now, obviously, we all want to get paid. We all want to get recognition, etc. It's normal. It's human. And again, I am not someone who's ever going to probably trunk a novel unless it's absolutely terrible. So I get it. But come back to that a bit more. Come back to the mentality of, hey, I'm doing this for myself. When you find yourself anxious and worried and fretting about how the story's going and it bothers you and it occupies your mind, remember the idea of writing solely for yourself. Writing so that no one else will ever read it. Doing it for the love of the art. It's important. It's really important to get tuned into this. These are long stretches of time, and it's not worth the anxiety if you're not doing it at least mostly for yourself. It should be, as like David Lynch would say, your art should be the thing that calms you down. It should be the thing that frees you. At your most anxious and your most worried, at your most traumatized, sad, depressed, whatever thing is wrecking your mind, your art should be the time when you are most focused, when you are away from that. Write for yourself.